Hi, everybody. I'm John Self. Welcome to Office Hours. It's Wednesday, the 18th. We're delighted you're with us today. We have a great program set up for you. It's wanting the job is not enough. Mental preparedness, folks. It's really what you have to do. You really have to master this in order to be successful in your job search. Now, I've interviewed thousands of people in my career, and I want to assure you that one of the biggest problems is that people don't come prepared for interviews. They come to answer questions, and guess what? That's not even close to being good enough anymore. So, what we want to do today is spend some time with you and get you to get you up to date on this important concept. I was just turning on my chat, so if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. If you have questions you want to ask personally one on one, you can go to my webpage at johngself.com, johngself.com. Go to the bottom of the page. There's a little icon that says Talk to John. You can schedule a video conference via Zoom, one-on-one private, or you can arrange a telephone call. Happy to talk to you and answer any of your questions. Let's get started today and talk about this very important concept. First of all, our overarching theme today is to win the job that you really want. You must master, I think, 2 levels of mental preparedness, okay? Number 1 is you have to understand conscious creation. I put this first, we're gonna talk about it second today, but this is first because this is your foundation. This is the baseline from which you must move. It's a longer term strategic roadmap. A longer term strategic roadmap. So, a lot of people lose their jobs. They haven't done any networking, and they don't have time to do networking. Oh my God, I don't have any leads and nobody's calling me. And so they just start applying online, which is no disrespect meant, but one of the worst waste of time in the history of of the universe today. Conscious creation is similar to networking. It's longer term, but it is incredible equity for your career. And let me tell you a story. I suffered from years after was very successful working for other people. I struggled when I started working for myself. I was against some, big name corporate firms, the Corn Ferries, the Heidrick and Struggles, the Whit Kiefers, and I didn't feel like I was good enough. In fact, I I learned later that my process was a lot more effective than my competitors were doing. But I really struggled with it. How could that possibly be? Well, I came across a concept called conscious creation, and I really didn't think of it in terms of interviewing until I started listening to people who basically were telegraphing to me, "I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm gonna," they were sabotaging themselves. So, in order to be successful today, you really have to be up. You got to have a level of performance and 2 levels of mental preparedness. Number 1, of course, conscious creation, which we just alluded to. And secondly, fact-based preparation to learn and understand irrelevant employment issues for the jobs that you're interested in pursuing. So let's first pick up constant creation. It's your foundation. I said we're going to talk about it first. Let me just summarize both the concepts for you. Constant creation, constant conscious creation. This is not constant contact. Constant conscious creation is really about your foundation. You don't build a beach house or a nice home without having a very sturdy foundation. If you want to have a great career today, you absolutely have to build a stronger foundation. And that is what I believe this to be with all of my heart, that if you adopt this, that you will do better in interviewing, you'll do better in life, you'll do better in your relationship, you'll be more rewarded, you will be feel more rewarding. So, you will be more rewarding and you will feel more rewarded. Okay. How does that sound? It's really your foundation for your future. Now, the answer for success, it's all about attitude. And we all know that, but we get caught up in our own doubt, self-doubts, our own ridicule, our beating ourselves up. We make a mistake. We didn't really fully prepared for an interview. We didn't weren't ready for this meeting or that meeting, and we beat ourselves up. And we have a negative attitude about what's going on. You know what? We're dealing with a very, very powerful personal computer, the brain, and we have to be very careful how we program the brain. Now, constant a conscious creation requires a written plan to achieve the success you believe in, and the operative words there are "you believe in." Finally, it's limited only by mental capacity and skills. In other words, if you're a poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks, a single parent home, you've got no breaks in your life. That doesn't mean that you can't use conscious creation to elevate your life to be somebody that you currently don't think you can be. It is just that important. Some people say, "Oh, you got to have religion, all these other stuff." That's all these other things. That's important. Those values are important. But let me tell you something. You've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to educate your brain that you have the ability to be successful. Now, before we finish today, I'm going to give you some instructions on how to download this program. Okay, fact-based preparation is another equally important part of the job preparation scheme. You Here's what you want to start looking for. You want to start looking for company recruiting and firm generated summaries. When you are contacted by a recruiter and they find out if you're interested, and then they decide you are interested, they're going to send you what is called a some position summary or a job summary. We call them position prospectuses because ours were much more detailed with much more insightful information, which is why our clients and our candidates loved what we did, because we tried to minimize surprises. We wanted to be sure that the clients understood who our candidates were, and we wanted to be sure our candidates understood all the good, the bad, and the ugly of the client. And everybody, both sides had the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you understand those things, you can make an informed decision. Okay, so you want to get the information from the company or the search firm, and you want to read through it, and you want to start making a list of questions you'd like to ask. And you need to start asking those questions when they call you to say, can we schedule a screening interview? And not the heavyweight questions about culture and decisions and turnover, but what is the process like? What can I expect? What do you expect as the recruiter, et cetera. Now, when you start getting into this and you start being going through the screening process, you need to do supplemental research. Okay, in addition to that summary that people gave you, you need to look at newspapers clippings, newsletters, industry analysis, website regulatory filings, everything like that. You need to look at all of that. Then you also need human intelligence. And this is important because you need to verify the information. Sometimes you can read something, you think you understand it, and you're off by a mile. Having human intelligence or intel, you can verify timelines. Are we dealing with accurate information? What is the context of this information? How can I use it? What makes sense? And you don't want to just start using information left, right, and center that you've read about, because there's a good chance you'll misunderstand what is really going on. And what is that? When you do that, that is a interview ending or your consideration ending event. It's very embarrassing, and the employer doesn't like it. So you have information. You need to have the information to connect your skills with their needs, but you also have to do a lot of homework to verify the accuracy of the information, to understand the context of the information. Now, let me say that again, to understand the context of the information. I have seen more candidates who thought they understood everything there was to know about this or that operation or this company or that industry come in and make total fools out of themselves in front of a board or from a hiring panel interview, because they did not take the time to really understand the issues that they were talking about. And they were smart people, and they weren't prepared, and they did not get the job. One applicant did it 3 times. And I said, Dan, I'm not going to be inviting you back anymore because you've made this same mistake 3 times. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to be embarrassed anymore. And he was not happy, and he went on and to do other things in life, and has been very successful. So what do I know? But I just think it's really important. You got to do homework. You got to get information. You got to understand the information. You got to understand, is it current? You don't want to use bad information. And what is the context? How is it? Explain the problem. And this is important again because it is all about connecting your strengths and the successes with the employer's needs, and you have to spell it out. I've had a number of candidates say, "Well, was all that information was in my interview. You'd think that they'd understood." Nope. If you want to maximize your value, you have to be prepared, mentally prepared to connect your issues, your strengths, your accomplishments with their needs. I'm going to tell you a quick story that's off script, but it's an interesting thing that happened to me years ago when I first got my first retainer. God, I was so happy. I was really struggling to build my business, and this was going to get me current with just the retainer, not the fee, was going to get me current, and I was going to have some money in my pocket, more likely my bank account. And that was really cool. I was going to take my wife to dinner. I bought her some flowers, and then I go meet the client for the start of the engagement. And he said, "You came very highly recommended, but I don't see any hospital operations experience." And I explained that I'd had some in rural community hospitals. But he said, you're not trained to be an administrator. I said, "No." He said, "Well, how can you possibly hire somebody or recommend somebody for us when you have not done the job yourself?" And I said, "Well, because I've had a lot of experience, I'm really good at getting information and I can help you avoid a mistake." "Well, but you haven't done the job. So how can you possibly do that?" And I said, "Well, let me give you an example. Early in my career, you saw that I was a journalist and you made a comment about that. Well, let me tell you what a journalist does. We go in and we ask questions and we're curious. And so when I start this, I'm going to ask your team a lot of questions, the good, the bad, the ugly. You can't, I don't want to hear you complaining about the questions I'm asking because what I'm trying to do is get a complete picture of your organization because the person that you hire doesn't need to have any surprises. And I have seen a lot of bad, expensive, nasty surprises in recruiting before I got into the business. And so that's one way I do it the way I do it. Secondly, is we're going to ask the candidate a lot of questions. And I'm curious. And when I hear something doesn't sound right, I'm going to go back and say something like, "That's interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more." I'm going to drill down until I'm confident that I understand the situation, Mr. CEO, so that when we pick people, they're going to have the skills that you need to accomplish what you want to have accomplished. And when we do interviews, I'm going to be listing for inconsistencies. I'm going to be, listing for facts and figures that hold his story together or her story together. And then I'm going to vet their performance. And a former investigative reporter, I know how to get references to tell me the complete picture. And finally, just to help you with your angst about the fact that I haven't run a hospital, so I couldn't possibly know how to recruit a hospital administrator, I'm so confident in my ability that I'll take your 1 year placement guarantee that most search firms offer, which, by the way, is no guarantee at all. It's lame because very few people leave in less than a year. So I'll give you 3 years, tenure, and performance. He said, "Oh, you can't do that." And I said, "Hide and watch." Not only did that candidate stay there, he was hired as a COO, and he became the heir apparent. And that's the reason that my average placement for a CEO was almost 9 years of tenure. So I was so convinced that my process worked. But the reason I didn't get thrown out of his office and lose my retainer was that I had to show him all the skill sets that I had, all the strengths that I had, and how that would benefit his organization. He couldn't see the match himself, so I had to make it clear for him. So that's part of why you need information, why you need to have information preparation, fact preparation, but you also need to have mental preparation. How am I going to use this information? You've got to connect your strengths with what their needs are. Now, if you have been in any of my sessions before, attended any of my training sessions, you know that I talk about using stories and how stories just absolutely, superpower your accomplishments and your strengths. They absolutely propel them from much further. Why? Because interviewers, you're the interviewee, interviewers don't always remember facts and figures. So if you're just sitting there firing out facts and figures like a machine gun, they're probably only going to retain about 30% of that. And I don't know what the exact number is, but they don't retain very much. So what do you need to do? You need to create a narrative to help them understand what happened and how you went about solving that problem. They're not there to hire somebody. You're there to find a solution. Okay? They're looking for a solution and you have to explain it to them why you're the right person. And you can't do that by just simply passively, reactively answering their questions. You've got to give them additional information and show them how your experience will benefit their organization. If you don't do that in these today, you probably will not get the job. So we use a form called core and categorical questions. Now, this is, I was sitting around one night having a very dry martini, and my God, I got inspired. My wife thought I was bat, crazy. And so I sat down. A job, you can break a job down. So mental preparation, and I want to say this as we start to explain this, mental preparation is not something you do on site, created on the fly responses. I mean, that's not that you know what that is? That's a definition of a disaster. You have to, because you have to verify accuracy and context in order to use that information. You need to identify categories of competence within each job. Every job has them. Okay, there it's whether it's human resources, your employees, governance, it's your relationship with your boss or the board. Financial management, financial responsibility. It's your ability to develop a budget and operate it within that budget. Revenue. Even if you're just selling your services internally, you need to show that you have been successful in meeting your targets of how many service units or how many sales that you were going to achieve. You need to be able to show that. So so you need to come up with those, with those categories, and there may be more if you're more senior in the organization. Write those categories down, and then for each category, you write the strengths that you think are relevant for that category, and you get that from your VBS. Now, if you're out there interviewing and you don't know your value proposition, or you haven't written a VBS, stop wasting your time, because you're not going to sound focused, and you may think you do, and most people think they're ace at interviewing, and they're not. Okay, they're mostly are average, very few are above average, and very fewer still are excellent. It's a unique form of business communication that most people really don't fully understand. We're here to teach you how to be a better interviewee. And so I really want to stress that. You need to understand your value, because that helps focus you and helps you come up with answers to questions better than you would ever do it on the fly. Okay. So you want to correlate the job categories with your strengths. Each category, one or two of your strengths, maybe three. And then for each strength, a story, very brief. How did you accomplish this? What was the benefit of this effort? How did you reduce your turnover rate? How did you improve employee satisfaction and drive down turnover? Tell a story. You don't have to, it's not a long story. It's cutting it to the core and say, we had these issues. Here's what we did. We realized that the answer here was X, Y, and Z. So we started doing this by forming, you're just giving them facts, but you're putting it in a narrative. You're not just saying, well, I reduced turnover 22%, end of story. No, that's not good enough. They might or might not remember that. What you want to do is engage them, drag them into your story, bring them into your story, and get them to understand that what you did was really important. And by the way, you can do this again in their operation. The other thing that it helps you to do is be curious when you're the candidate. Thank you, Ted Lasso. Being curious is absolutely essential in this today's job market. You absolutely cannot afford not to be curious about turnover rate, about why the job is open, what the culture is, any of those things. You're absolutely looking for a catastrophe if you're not curious and not getting things clarified. Here's what I want you to do. When you're preparing for an interview, I want you to write 10 questions that you would ask yourself if you were interviewing you. So, what would you ask you if you were interviewing you? Think like the employer. You know what that's going to do? That's going to help you anticipate questions. And now you may only get two or three or four out of that 10. You may have guessed 4 out of 10. That's not bad. But let me tell you something, because you're taking your strengths and you're thinking about the stories you want to use, and you're thinking about your successes and even your failures. If you've got an, oh my God, I can't believe I was so stupid and did that, and have a great answer and explain why it happened, okay, and what you've learned from it, you know what happens on all these things? You're going to end up being more confident, more prepared, and your answers are going to be more targeted and more agreeable and acceptable to the employer. You can incidentally, you can download our core and categorical form. And if you don't need our coaching but want to know how to use it, you can set up a free call. We're happy to help you. Okay, now we get to something that most people dig in their heels, and it's absolutely ridiculous they do this, but it's not, unfortunately, it's not uncommon. Practice, rehearse your answers. This is critical for success in an interview. Why? Well, number one is that helps you retain the information. That helps you get the sense of how you're teaching your brain how you want to organize your responses. Okay. And if you're stumbling over or having problems with any of the answers, it gives you a time to spend a little bit more time studying and preparing. Okay. So you want to practice. Practice does make perfect. Just like golfers, professional golfers don't play, they play golf a lot more than they do on TV for the tournament. They're on the practice tee all the time. During the off season, they're constantly playing golf and working on their shot. They'll hire a coach maybe to help them with an issue they identified in the previous tournament season, and they'll be working on that through the off time. People who are really proficient as athletes, as musicians, anything else, practice a lot. Why? Because it makes it more automatic. It makes it more executable the same way every time. And that's what you must be able to do in a job interview today. You want to rehearse your answers. This is critical for your success, and practice makes perfect. Now we offer clients a package of mock interviews. We have an interview course, and we also do mock interviews. If you're a member of our system, which is $79 a month, you get 40% off on all of our coaching. And I guarantee you, even if you think you're an ace interviewer, I can make you better. So if you have any questions, let me know. We'll be happy to share with you how that happens. As a side, in my career, I probably interviewed more than 9,000 people all around the world. I understand what a good interview is. I've sat through a bunch of stinkers. So I understand how to help you become a better candidate by being better at the interview table. And here's the secret: preparation plus practice. That generates confidence. Okay. So when you have those two together, you're going to feel more confident because you answer the questions, you hear yourself responding, and you go, okay, I got this. You know what confidence does? Confidence enhances your self awareness. And when you're self-aware, you're more tuned in to how your answers are being received. Instead of worrying about how you're going to answer the next question because you've got a system in your head to anticipate those questions, you are more self-aware, and you're more focused, and you're more exceptional in the interview. It's just it all comes together and lifts up your performance. This is not some theory. I mean, I've had too many of my clients tell me that this has helped them so much in finding jobs they really wanted. We can do that for you. So now let's move on to a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and it's also something that I think is absolutely it will be an absolute game changer for you. Now, some people say this is too woke. Oh, give me a break. All that nonsense that we heard through the campaign, all about woke. There are a lot more important things in life to worry about than that. This is not about woke. This is not about new age. This is about you. This is about you having confidence in yourself. This is about you being able to take that confidence, even when you're really not feeling too good about who you are, and take that and change the dynamic. Go from a negative to a positive. And it's really a roadmap, not only for your career, but your life. Now, so what is conscious creation? It's really becoming mindful of what you think and what you believe, and directing those thoughts and choosing emotions and trying to align those with your desires. I'm not worthy of that job. Those guys are more experienced than me. They have beautiful offices. I'm working out of an older loft building in a small town in East Texas. I even had a recruiter for a major organization tell me, I like your system. I think you'll do a great job, but I could never justify hiring somebody from a hick town in East Texas. Well, that just reignited all of my self doubt. It reignited all the things that I really suspected were true. I'm not worthy. Here I am, a recruiter, and I'm an imposter. And if I had kept those emotions in my life, I would have been a total failure. I never would have traveled the world. I never would have accomplished anything. And, I learned early on how to believe in myself. And when I was working for other organizations doing great things like helping hospitals create the original 14 hospital-based helicopter ambulance services, I worked for a great company with a great boss who really helped me understand that, I was really capable. I'd never been a salesman, didn't know that much about helicopters, but he told me this. He said, there's an old Episcopal clergyman in England that once said that a man who is on fire with enthusiasm, people will come from all over to watch him burn. So he said, just remember that you've got something in you that most people don't have, and that is enthusiasm. Well, when I went out on my own, I was so insecure. I was so worried that I wouldn't be worthy that I just doused my enthusiasm, and it really made it much more difficult for me to get work. And when I did get work, I wasn't willing to charge what I was worth. You know the drill. So I don't want to dump all my dirty laundry out for you, but let me tell you, it has made a difference. It continues to make a difference in my life. And it's something that I've gotten away from, and I had to go back and open the book again and start thinking about that every morning as I start my day. So let's talk about elements of your transformational journey, because that's really, in order to be successful today, that's exactly what you need to have is a transformational journey. First of all, let's break it down into four categories. Physics, this is the reality is it's your perception, okay? Then there's the neuroscience element that your brain controls your biochemistry. So your brain controls, how you feel about certain things and how you react on any given day. Your image, you are created in the image of or likeness of your creator, your God, your parents, however you want to view that. Spirituality, life doesn't happen to you, it happens from you. And these are underlying principles in conscious creation. So the truth about destructive behavior, God, I could write a book, but I don't want to bore people. Uh, you start off and you express this. It's almost like a drug habit. Okay, I'm going to do this, but I can control this. You start expressing disappointment in yourself, and then as you do that, it's just find yourself doing it more. You want that second hit. You want to do it again because, somehow I need to do this because I'm not worthy. So you resort to more strident self-criticism. And then that initially morphs into intense self-ridicule that, quite frankly, if you did that to a colleague, they would fire your butt, throw you to the curb immediately, if not before. So this is the sort of progression of that self-destructive behavior. And let me tell you something. You may think, "Oh, that sounds like me." And, "Oh God, nobody else could be that bad." Oh, yeah. You're so wrong. There are people who run major corporations, some very, very highly visible corporations that struggle with that they are truly worthy of where they are. Some of them might not be, and they got lucky, but they deal with that same indecisiveness, that same insecurity that sometimes eats us all alive. And so this is a way to think about that and a way to kind of manage that. Once you've kind of abused yourself and you've become practice self-ridicule and you don't have confidence in your ability, you're always going to suffer from this. It's just you may be recovering. I'm recovering. It makes me happier to know that this is a way forward and that I don't have to sort it out myself. And I absolutely will tell you, it will make a difference in how you prepare for and how you execute in a job interview. And if you come into our course, you're going to get a heavy dose of that. And that's going to be, I'm going to be all over you, up and down and sideways and twice on Sunday, to be sure that you are getting your mental game correct. Because if you don't have your mental game on par, you will not get the job. So I've just kind of tipped off there. So what's the harm of being self-critical? Well, some people say, well, it'll help me improve my performance. I get after myself because I'm a perfectionist. What a large load of horse pucky. That's nothing could be further from the truth. That's just a lame excuse, a lie that you tell yourself. So what's the harm? Here is the harm of telling yourself that. Your brain is listening. You are training your brain. Your brain goes, well, this person's, well, they're not very good. They don't think very highly of themselves. So, I need to be real careful about what I put out there for this individual because your brain remembers. So what you have to do if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel like you've done a good job, you need to reprogram your brain. And this is something that's easier said than done, and it's just one day at a time. If you get through a day and you haven't ridiculed yourself, that's a winning day. Okay? Think positive thoughts, start the next day, be grateful, and then say, I'm not going to criticize myself. I'm not going to cause myself say that I'm stupid. I'm not going to pound my head with my hands because I made a mistake and I'm anxious and I'm frustrated, I'm tired. I'm not going to do that to myself today. Okay, here are 3 steps to improve your mindset. This is the second part of this is you gotta focus and attention, that equals creation. So, you've heard me talk about this, and now you know where some of this comes from. Write Think about your dream. What do you wanna accomplish with your life, in your career, with your write these down. If it's just your career, write it down, okay? What's your vision? Write it down. Your goal, write it down. I wanna work in healthcare. I wanna become a system CEO. Write it down. Don't be shy. Don't be, "Oh, well, I could never do that." I want you to be specific about what you want, and I want you to write each of these down, and then I want you to listen. I want you to listen. Don't try to tell yourself you can't do something. Listen. Your brain will carry you to what you want and what you believe in. Now, most people, this is where they fall out on the process. And I was listening to Lena Kay do her presentation several years ago. Lena Kay was a remarkable woman. She was born in Iraq, in a province of Iraq. She parents moved to in London, where she was reared. She was enrolled in college, but she had this remarkable ability to manage things and manage people. And before you know it, here she was as a young woman managing 10 gaming establishments, saloons, and casinos in West London. And everything was going great. She had a bright career in front of her, and then she was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and they put her on strong medications that created a lot of problems for her. Then she developed PTSD. She became homeless. She became drug addict, and really, there was people just didn't, when they mentioned her name, they could not possibly see any hope for her. And then she came across the concept of conscious um, creation, and she used this concept to help her rebuild her confidence, to rebuild her self-image, to rebuild her view of who she was and what she could be. And that's an incredible thing. Most people fall off the wagon, so to speak, because when they start thinking about all these things, they invariably start talking about problems. And when you start thinking about problems, you know what you're going to get? More problems. So you want to avoid that at all possible cost. Two, your self master. This is where your self mastery is where the heavy lifting, and I'm talking about, it's a lot of work. So, what do you believe about the things you want? Now, this is where we're tying what you want. Now, what do you believe? Is this possible? Do I want this? What am I prepared to do for this? What does it require in terms of the whole bailiwick? What do you believe about the things that you want? Now, life does not give you what you want. Life does not give you what you want. And this is something that if it did, I would be running the world right now. Not really, but I would be in a far different place than I am. Okay. Now I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with my life. I want to do my company to do better. And that's one of the reasons I had to drag this back out again, because I became disassociated with this concept. And I felt like, something was missing. And I thought, oh, this is it. I hadn't talked about this in years. Life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you believe. So if you believe that you're a good person, that you're a quality person, that you're smart, you understand your strengths, you believe in your strengths, that's what life's going to give you, that confidence and that ability to execute on those strengths. Now, we are created by our creator to win. That's our basic nature. But with all the stuff we feed our brain, we're programmed to lose. That's why it's so important in conscious creation to not badmouth yourself. Now, this is really exceptionally hard work, and only you can do it. We coach people. We try to help them in the contents of career management. We don't get into lifestyle coaching because I don't feel I'm qualified there. and because I haven't had any experience doing it. So that's my excuse for not being involved. But we can apply this in spades with your career and in interviewing. And if you come into our course, that's exactly what you're going to get a heavy dose of. And I think it'll make you a better interviewer and a happier life. Okay, number three. A lot of people say, well, this is a 3 to 5 year plan. Yeah, I can't, how's it going to benefit me? Okay, well, here's a little secret. Imagine you already have the success that you've talked about. Imagine you've already achieved what you dreamed about, what you want, and that you value. Imagine that. Don't wait 3 or 4 years or 5 years or 7 years. Enjoy the feeling of success today. Okay. Believe in it, then take the first step in your plan. Don't wait for everything to fall in place. Most people, that's what they do. They wait for outside circumstances to change. Well, you must change on the inside and to see the change on the outside. In other words, you've got to have your mind and your heart correct and be in the right place, open to possibilities and confidence in who you are and what you can do well to be able to see the changes on the outside and see the opportunities. Now, Lena Kay does this in her TED talks, and she's done a number of those. As I said, once she got better, she moved up. Once she got kind of on top of her problems, she really moved up fast, and she's currently an executive coach living in Atlanta, the Atlanta, Georgia area. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. And she asked this in and I thought it was an amazing example, and it really caught my attention. If somebody sent you an email and said, "Hey, this go ahead and open this attachment, but it might have a really serious virus, but don't worry about it. It probably doesn't." Would you open that attachment if you knew that it would corrupt your hard drive? Would you open that attachment if you knew that it would corrupt your programs and destroy your information? Would you do that? Most of you would go, not only no, but hell no, I'm not about to do that. Well, you know what you're doing when you criticize yourself? You know what you do when you say, I'm not worthy? Do you know what you do when you say you're stupid? That was an idiot thing to do. How can you possibly ever succeed making all those stupid mistakes? You know what you're doing? You're downloading a dangerous, bad, awful virus that's going to potentially destroy who you are, destroy your ability to be the complete person that you were intended to be. So stop downloading viruses in your computer. Stop beating yourself up. I didn't realize how much I was doing it until somebody pointed out to me that, John, if you keep doing that, you're going to end up firing yourself because you're not going to be worth working for. And the truth is, I was committing self-abuse. I was committing self-criticism. I was committing, employee abuse because I was criticizing myself so unmercifully. So I really want you to think about these issues. To be successful in a job market today, you absolutely have to be prepared. You have to understand your focus. You have to understand your value. And you have to believe in yourself that you can deliver on those things, and then you can't hold back. You have to be able to say, can you do this? Absolutely. Okay. And you want to ask the question so that you know that the statements, the claims, the assurances you're offering that you can deliver on. Now, it's not because you're not smart, but sometimes the casino is rigged against you in a new company. And that's why, probably 40 to 50% of the people who take jobs in new organizations or are promoted from within, don't survive. And most of them, 40% are gone within 18 months. They were either pushed out, fired, or they quit. That's an incredible number, and it's an expensive number. But that's what happens when people don't pay attention and ask the right questions. They don't trust their instincts. They don't do what it takes so that those instincts make informed decisions. And when they do that, they do it with confidence. They do it with assurance. And that's what you have to do. That's what it takes to succeed today. We can help you do that. I hope you'll give our program some thought. I want to invite you to join us. It's called Your Career Community. The courses are Your Guiding Your Career. All of our courses are, a lot of them are pre-recorded online, but you also get one-on-one weekly coaching so that the video part is really for your future reference. Okay, to be a member of your career community, it's a $250 enrollment fee and only $79 a month. And for that, you get two live coaching sessions every week, this one and Lunch and Learn. And you also get our daily newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, except on holidays. And you also get you get four 30-minute phone calls with me every month. So you can get all of that just for the basic community membership fee. Now, if you say, well, John, I really want your super duper interview course, that's $1,425. Why is it so expensive? It's 2 months. It's eight sessions with five mock interviews where we're going to take apart your answers and help you rebuild your answers so that it really helps sell your value. I'm going to do an in-depth research interview with you to help you understand what your value is and to teach you how to take those accomplishments, that incredible value, and make it relevant for the employer. That's what it takes today. So, that course, if you're a member, just taking one additional course and you're going to earn back your $250 enrollment fee. That instead of 1425, you're going to save $570 on that deal. We're creating a community, and we're able to make these discounts because we're interested in developing you as a member of our community and as a contributing member of our community going forward, to be able to share experiences, to share frustrations, to be able to share what you're learning in your career, in your industry, your vertical, and share it with the community. So those are things we're working on. This is brand new. We've got, I think, 12 members so far. So, get in early. The membership probably will go up at some point. But one of the things I will tell you that in early January, this session will become members only. So if you're not a member, you will not have access to office hours anymore. So if you think this content was helpful to you today, become a member today, and we will provide you with the kind of support that you need. And if you have questions, schedule a free call with me. I'm happy to answer your questions. In these cases, I try not to sell anything. I love what I do. I'm enthusiastic what I do. But the thing I try to do when you have questions and you take the opportunity with the free call, it's not to give you any sales pitch. I just don't want to do that. So I hope you'll enjoy us and join us in the near future. We'd love to have you as part of the community. We'd love to have you as a contributing member of the community. Here's what our website looks like. This button on the right-hand side, it says Become a Guiding Your Career Subscriber and Save. That's the button you hit. And go to the page. There will be a video from me telling you what it's all about. And then you go to the pay page. And once you do that, make your payments, then you're in. And you will immediately start receiving the newsletter. And then you can immediately start taking advantage of your monthly call allotment. So I hope this has been helpful information for you today. We are off next week. So for my Muslim friends, blessings to you. For our Jewish friends, which includes my grandkids, happy Hanukkah. It starts on Christmas this year. And for all of our other friends, Merry Christmas. We hope you have a wonderful holiday, and my blessings from my family to yours. Goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year. We will be back. Oh gosh. We'll probably do some work on Friday following New Year's Day. So if you have any questions, or if anything urgent comes up in your career and you need an immediate answer, you can text me on my cell phone. It's in my LinkedIn. The cell phone is in my LinkedIn profile. So please feel free to do that. We want to try to be ready for you and help you. Mostly people over the weekend, over these holidays, not much is going on. But if something does come up, please feel free to reach out. Cheers, everybody, and happy holidays. Please feel free to reach out. Cheers, everybody, and happy holidays.